Nobody talks about this, but insurance companies figured out these cars were dangerous years before any government agency did. And the number they came up with is wild. Stick around because at the end of the video, I'm going to tell you the dollar amounts that basically ended the muscle car era. And it has nothing to do with gas prices. Welcome to Car Classic. Everyone knows the story of horsepower wars, big blocks, and Detroit chasing quarter mile times. What almost nobody covers is what these cars were actually like to survive in. Today we're breaking down the real engineering reality of classic muscle cars, and how one industry quietly changed the entire game before the government ever stepped in. Let's start with the steering column. Collapsible steering columns designed to crumple forward in a crash instead of impaling the driver had been developed years earlier. GM didn't start installing them until 1967. Before that, a solid steel column sat between the driver's chest and the engine block with nothing to absorb the impact. Add that to the bullet nose hub in the center of many steering wheels at the time, a hard metal cap designed purely for style, and you had a setup where a frontal collision could send that hub straight into the driver's sternum or skull. This wasn't a hidden defect nobody could see. It was sitting right in front of every driver in plain sight for years before anyone fixed it. Here's something that doesn't get brought up as much when people talk about horsepower numbers. Most muscle cars in the 1960s were sold standard with drum brakes on all four corners, even the ones pushing well over 300 horsepower. Drum brakes overheat and lose stopping power fast under repeated hard braking, which is a real physics problem, not an opinion. Front disc brakes existed and were proven by the mid-1960s, but manufacturers frequently made them optional upgrades instead of standard equipment, because keeping the base price lower helped the advertiser sticker price look better. So, you had cars capable of hitting 60 miles per hour in under 7 seconds that stopped with technology that was already considered outdated. This one surprises a lot of people. On many cars through the mid-1950s, the fuel door was tucked behind the rear license plate or taillight directly in the path of a rear-end collision. A hard hit from behind could rupture the fuel line right where it was most exposed. Combine that with door latches that weren't engineered to stay closed during a crash, and doors without internal guard beams, and a rear impact could mean a fuel spill, combined with doors popping open or jamming shut entirely, trapping occupants inside. These weren't rare defects buried in a random model. This was standard construction across most American cars of the era. Now, here's what I was teasing earlier. Insurance companies were tracking claims data on these cars in real time, and by 1970, the numbers told a different story that nobody wanted to hear. High-performance muscle cars like the Dodge Charger Daytona and the Hemi Cuda carried insurance premiums that could run into the hundreds of dollars a year, with some quotes on the highest performance models reportedly climbing well past that. To put that into perspective, the car itself often cost around $3,500 to $4,000, meaning insurance could eat up a serious chunk of the purchase price in the first year alone. Some states went even further. Insurers, including in states like New York, created special high-performance surcharges tied directly to engine specs like horsepower and displacement. Through the early to mid-1970s, sales of high-performance V8 muscle cars fell dramatically as these costs piled up alongside emissions rules and the oil crisis. Insurance underwriters were essentially running their own private safety investigation years before the federal government caught up, and their pricing models did more to kill the muscle car era than most regulation ever did. Here's the twist: all of those same engineering issues, the steering columns, the drum brakes, the fuel exposure, are exactly why ensuring a classic muscle car today looks completely different depending on how it's been restored. Cars that have been retrofitted with modern disc brake conversions or collapsible column kits often get better classic car insurance rates than bone stock originals, because insurers know the original engineering carried real risk. If you own or are looking to buy a classic muscle car, understand this history isn't just trivia, it directly affects what you pay to protect it. So when you look at a restored GTO or Charger at a car show today, you're looking at a machine that represents two competing forces in American history: pure, unfiltered performance ambition and an industry that was slow to catch up on basic survivability. None of this makes these cars less iconic. If anything, it makes the engineering evolution that followed up even more impressive, because everything from crumple zones to standardized disc brakes exists because these cars forced the conversation, whether Detroit wanted it or not. If this gave you a new appreciation for what these classics actually went through, hit subscribe, because we're covering the hidden engineering history behind more legendary cars every week. Drop a comment with the model you want us to dig into next, and if you know a fellow enthusiast who needs to hear this, send it their way. See you in the next one.